What's up, guys? This is Hair Trigger, and I'm doing another movie review for you. And today's movie review is on Angel Has Fallen. It's a follow-up film to Olympus Has Fallen and to the London Has Fallen. It stars Gerard Butler as Mike Banning and Morgan Freeman, who plays now the president. As you know, in the first film, he was the vice president. And it also stars Jada Pinkett Smith, Lance Reddick, which I really like him, Nick Nolte, Danny Hudson, and Tim Blake Nelson. Uh, this is a follow-up film to Olympus Has Fallen and London Has Fallen. So if this is, if you really like those two movies, more likely this would be something you'd be interested in. Uh, So, without giving away any spoilers, or try not to, in this part of the video, it takes place modern day, like I said, and it has Mike Banning, Gerard Butler. He is, starting to age and starting to feel some of the repercussions from where he's been in a lot of combat over the years, both with military and, obviously in the previous films, he was in a lot of shootouts and stuff. And it's starting to take its toll on his body. It's pretty much, one of those pretty standard storylines. It's not like it's not been done before, but it is an action movie. And like I say, when I do a review on a movie, I base it on its category, its genre. You know, if it's real out there and it's a drama, then I would take points away. But with action film, there's going to be stuff that's not always going to be super realistic, and they have a lot of movies where this one guy kills 50 people, and realistically, that's not going to happen. But you go for the action, so the plot of this movie is, Mike Bannon is getting up in age. He's got some health problems. He's starting to feel the repercussions from some of his battles, and he's starting to take some pain medication and stuff. And the director of Secret Service is getting ready to retire. And so Mike Banning, thinks he might be up for it, but he's torn on whether he wants to put in for it or not, because he don't know much longer he can be able to do it. The movie starts out with a lot of action. He goes through a sequence of fighting. I don't want to go into that part yet either. Right off the get go, I mean, the very first scene is just tons of action. The problem with the movie is that it pretty much tries to make you think about who the bad guy is going to be, and who's after him and who's trying to set him up. Like say the movie's about him getting set up for trying to kill the president, uh, and you can see that part in the spoilers. And then he goes on the run, kind of like like a movie fugitive or something. He goes on the run, and all while his own people and the FBI thinks he's tried to do assassination attempt on the president. And so he's on a run, and that's the plot. But the problem with it is, at the beginning, I figured out who all the bad people were and who was behind the whole thing, and so that took a little bit away from me. But maybe you're not one of those people that would pick up on all that and make it somewhat of a mystery for you. But to me, I just picked up on all that and kind of killed a little bit of the anticipation. With that said, it had a lot of good action. It was very entertaining. It was an enjoyable film. It had good cinematics, except for there's a scene where there's a fight scene, a couple fight scenes actually, but one of them in particular was they were in a car fighting, and it reminded me of watching the original Hulk movie, where all you see is little hands flying and shadows and carrying on, and you don't even know what the hell's going on. And to me, that took some points away from the movie. It was just like a blur mess of trying to figure it out. Not really much of a soundtrack. It had the cinematic soundtrack, which was really good. Other than that, the cinematography and the special effects were point on, and the storyline was average, maybe a bit above average, but it was very, very entertaining. It actually had quite a bit of comic relief in the movie, and which I really liked. That's probably one of the best things about the movie. I'll get into that part in the spoilers. And anyway, I would, without getting into spoilers, I would give this movie a 7 out of 10. And I would actually say it's worth going to the movie and see probably during the week during a matinee thing. I mean, I would even, if I was on a date or something, I would go see the movie. Definitely a rental. And if it's one of those genres that you're really into, or you really like the Olympus has fallen and London has fallen, then definitely, I would say definitely go see it. It didn't, it stuck right in line with those, and like I say, it's got some plot issues with it. But other than that, really good movie. The acting was really good. Uh, and anyway, guys, this is the end of this part without getting into spoilers. And there won't be a lot of spoiling, but I just don't want to get into the part where I tell you uh, some of the surprises and then you'd be upset. So I'm gonna end this part of the video right now with that a 7 out of 10. Good. I would go see it at the theater. If not, definitely rent it. Especially if it's your type of film. Thanks, guys, and thanks for the support of the channel. And always, if you like this video or it helped you out in any way, obviously give me a thumbs up. Alright, guys, we're moving on to the spoiler section. So, again, if you don't want to know more of the details of the plot or don't want any spoilers, then, turn this video off now and maybe come back and watch it when you've actually watched the movie. The spoiler section or more of the plot line is going to be revealed now. Anyway, Mike Bannon is guarding the president. Of course, he's still following the president around. He's still working at the White House. And he's come up for uh, the director of the Secret Service. The guy who's the director of the Secret Service is getting ready to retire. And Mike Bannon, is starting to have some issues with his back and some dizzy spells, maybe. He was just having issues with his head, and they didn't really go into big detail why, or maybe I missed it, but anyway, he's starting to depend on some pain medications, and he's going to see different doctors, and, they're telling him that his spine is pretty messed up, and of course, they asked him what kind of work he did, and he's like, well, I'm an accountant or something like that, because he can't reveal what he does for a living. And so he's married now, and he's got a daughter. And the movie starts out in the beginning where he's on in a fight scenario, and I picked up on it toward the end that it was just a simulation, and he was just practicing his skills with these guys. And like I say, it's good that they have the fight scene right off of, a good fight scene right off at the beginning, but it was just a simulation. And he meets up with an old war buddy, played by Danny Hudson, and they were, I think, in Iraq together, and he just invited him out to uh, run through the simulation. The problem with Danny Hudson is that as soon as you see the guy, you know that he always plays a bad guy. So as soon as I seen Danny Hudson in the movie, if you don't know who he is, just Google Danny Hudson, and as soon as you see his ass, you're gonna say, well, damn, that dude always plays a crook or bad guy. So as soon as you see Danny Hudson, you're like, oh shit, this is the guy. that's gonna be the dude. Well, anyway, he meets with Danny Hudson. Danny Hudson's kind of over some mercenary guys, and they're trying to get a contract with the government to, do some military, subcontracted military work. And so, there's his motive of wanting to get anything going. Well, the vice president is pretty much sort of against any war type talk. He's trying to do everything diplomatically. And so anyway, Gerard Butler tells old Danny that, hey, uh, I'll put a good word in for you. You want to stop by the house one day for dinner? And of course, Danny says, yeah. So, I don't know Danny's name in the movie, but Danny goes to see Mike Banning at his house, and this is a little bit part of the plot. It breaks down. The problem is in the movie they have him go visit him right off the bat, and this is how they get his DNA to put on some of the weapons to try to frame Mike Banning as being the person who put the attack on the president. So, that's a little far fetched. All of a sudden you stop by for dinner and then he, you know, gets some of his information and stuff. And also he wore one of the helmets, when they were running the simulation and he got his DNA off of that. That part's a little far-fetched, So then you kind of pick up right off the get-go what's getting ready to happen. And, Mike Banning, he goes on a fishing trip with the president, and they have Secret Service everywhere. They have helicopters there. They have, a bunch of some military equipment, not heavy stuff, but they had agents everywhere there. And Mike Banning is standing there with the president, and they have a conversation about him becoming director. And of course, Mike Banning was getting ready to tell him he didn't want it because, he was having problems, but he has a pain attack in his back, and he has to get relieved by another agent and decides to go to shore, I guess to take some pain medication. So, at that time, this convoy comes up and they shoot out these futuristic. I've heard they're working on this actual technology. I don't know if it's, I have read it because I actually am believe it or not, I have a drone company and an aerial photography company, and I've read that there is a private defense contractor that is working on a technology to shoot out thousands of drones out of the back of an airplane in attack mode, and therefore, it'd be hard to shoot them all out of the sky because they overwhelm you in numbers, and they all be either equipped with some kind of bomb device or some kind of projectile with it. So that technology is in the works. I don't think we've got there yet, but in the movie we've got there. So they take all these drones and they shoot them out of the cannon in a swarm, and they're all uh, very intelligent drones. They even can do face recognition, which I thought was comical. But anyway, they attack all the or the Secret Service agents. For some reason, I think there might have been some FBI agents there, but I can't remember. But it's not really relevant. But anyway, they blow up half the Secret Service people, and they're blowing up everything. And anyway, they end up uh, attacking everyone, and of course they wait to the last to try to blow up the president, even though he was the primary target. Of course, Mac Bannon sees what's going on. He goes back, and this part's in the trailer, folks. So this, he turns around, goes back to the president, and about the time he gets there, the president's in the water, and it blows up his boat, and the other agent dies. And of course, he saves the president, but the waters are really cold, and the president goes into a coma, and they both go to the hospital. Well, what happens next is the FBI gets involved trying to figure out what's going on, and of course the contractor, or the people who were trying to kill the president and tried to frame Mike Bannon as doing the inside job, and he had got a bunch of money put into his account from a Russian fund, and so this Russian fund goes in there. And also, again, they had his DNA at the crime scene. And so they have as he's waking up, they have him arrested in chains to the thing. So anyway, the president, obviously now in a coma. So they swear in the vice president, and as soon as I seen the part where they swore in the vice president, I put two and two together, knowing that damn well, okay, he's probably in on this deal because he wanted to get the presidency and change some things. But I wasn't sure at this point. And then I also figured the people who attacked Mike Bannon was going to be the guys he just hung out with. Well, anyway, they're transporting Mike Bannon in a caravan to a prison to be held for his arraignment. And of course, there's an airstrike on they hack. Actually, I take it back. They hack into the vans that's transporting Mike Bannon, and then they hack them and ram them. And anyway, there's that part where they get in this big tussle. And in this part is actually not a very good scene at all. He gets in. They kill everybody. They grab him. They're gonna put him in the truck with them, and they're driving off. And Mike Bannon starts fighting them, and it's nothing but a blurry mess. You'll see an elbow here, and then a gun up here, and then that, and it's dark. And that cinematography there wasn't good to me at all. Most people probably won't have a problem with it, but I didn't like it. I need to speed this up, don't I? But anyway, so there's a big tussle. I wanted to go over that part because, obviously, uh, that's a key moment where I thought some of the cinematography was a little bit off. Anyway, going forward, they don't get him. He escapes into the woods. He goes, uh, steals some cars. He gets ambushed by some vigilantes who are trying to get a reward bringing him in, and I won't get into that. And some of them parts are funny as well. He goes, and for some reason, he has his long lost father lives up in the woods in West Virginia, and so he drives up to there, and he knew where the old man lived because the old man was because he was in the Secret Service and he kept up with him over the years to make sure he was okay. What you find out from the plot is them two don't like each other because the old man abandoned him and his mother when they were young, when he was a boy. And so he goes up there and he's talking to his dad. And he's just trying to get some rest because he's been up for days, no sleep. He needs some pain pills. He's hurting all over again and can't hardly perform as usual. Kind of reminds me of the one of the Rocky movies where Rocky didn't know if he was going to be able to box because he had so much head trauma. So he goes there, and to me this part kind of made some of the movie because the dad and him have some real good moments in this film, and it had a lot of comic relief. So the dad, explains to him that the reason he left him and his mother is because he was in Vietnam, and that he had, I guess, made an illusion or not illusion, made the made a, made it seem that he had PTSD, which that's what I figured he had. Okay. And that anytime you fight for your country betrays you, and that's his thought process. And he tells Mike Bannon, look at you, now your country's betrayed you. And he said, I wasn't there as a father because you better be glad I wasn't there because I was pretty much pretty much batshit crazy. And anyway, so, the bad guys, at this point, you figure out that, like you figure out in the beginning of the movie, that, Danny Hudson is behind the whole caper here. I mean, that wasn't very hard to figure out. He was playing the bad guy, and they were with that, a military force and, private contractors, private military contractors, and they were trying to go ahead and clean up some loose ends and take out Mike Bannon. And so, of course, Danny Hudson says, "Well, find out anywhere that you think he could be right now." And of course, it don't take him 5 minutes to figure out that he's probably at his father's. Even though his father, I don't think, was ever mentioned in the first or second movie. But, they had to write him in there somehow. So, one of the best scenes in the movie, actually, it's probably the best scene. It's funny as hell, there's lots of action. And, the old man is, a Vietnam vet, and he's living off the grid, don't have a cell phone, lives in a cabin. They don't have anything. And they figure out where he's at. So he's got surveillance cameras, and here comes all these guys to come up there and kill Mike Bannon. And this old man, he's done he's done put mines and bomb, where he could pull triggers and blow up shit everywhere. And it was like 30 of them probably, and he just kept. They go out in the woods, and Mike Bannon's like, it's gonna be hard for me to kill all these guys. And the old man says, "Don't worry about it, I got it." He starts pulling these levers and stuff, and he blows up sections of the woods all over the place. And there's bodies flying everywhere, limbs going all over the place, boom, boom. That's one thing about the movie. It has lots of explosions. In the beginning of the movie, there's tons of explosions for, where they trying to kill the president. And then halfway through the movie, there's another big ton of explosions. With the old man pulling all these triggers, killing everybody's ass. But it's funny as hell because Mike Bannon says, quit it. And he just keeps pulling triggers, blowing up shit. And then finally, there's a 1 grand finale. He says, "Hey, pull that lever over there." And he said, "What's that one do?" "Just pull it." And he pulls that lever and it blows up all the woods all the way around in a big gigantic circle. So that was really funny. It was good. And I know I done stretched this video on, but, or not video, more of a podcast, because you can't put the video up when you do the video because they get you for copyright, even though it's a uh, even though it's the trailer, like, that everybody can see, they still get you. So, anyway, this one will just have a silly looking logo or something to go along with it. But, not to get into the end of the story, but there's fighting, and the old man, him and they go around and around. There's a couple funny scenes with the old man, his dad, and one of the best scenes at the end. Make sure you stay to the end of the movie, and then there's kind of, I wouldn't say a after credit. It starts running the credits just for a second, and then all of a sudden it pops us back up on the screen. Everybody's actually leaving the theater. And it's probably one of the best scenes in the movie. Anyway, guys, obviously, you can figure out what happens. Uh, Mike Bannon is going to be the winner in this, and the president. He gets all his accolades restored, and he actually ends up becoming the director at the end of the movie. So, if they make another one, they could. If not, they can end it there. If they made another one, Nick Nolte would play his dad, and I could see where that part would make the whole next movie, with him and his dad, because they team up on a couple of the battles, and it's pretty comical. Well, they don't really team up. They team up in a way, but anyway, they're both bad. Well, they do team up, so there. But Anyway, guys, appreciate you watching Spoilers again. It's a movie I'd recommend going to see if you like action movies. If you are an average moviegoer, I'd probably still go see it. But there's a few things with the movie, the plot, and some of the cinematography that, it's not a perfect movie. So again, 7 out of 10, but I'd still go to the theater. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good day.